Hello, welcome to the Capelle Livechat. My name is Victor and I'm your host for today. And today here with us, we have a very special guest, Mr. Larry Choi. Larry is currently the director and CEO of ISEAS, Yusof Ishak Institute. And before he joined it, he was a permanent secretary of the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources. And before that, he was also permanent secretary of Ministry of Transport. So we are very privileged to have him with us here today. And so we just want to welcome you, Larry.
Thank you.
Today we're going to dive into and explore about the energy sector. There's lots of discussion and talk about Singapore going green, about the clean energy. And we got Larry here with us today. And this is the reason why. Larry, we know that there's this recent energy report that was just being published, and we know that you are the chairman helming this committee. Right? So we would like to just for you to share how did this report come about, right? And what's the main thrust of this report?
Okay. Well, the committee was called the Energy 2050 Committee, and it was commissioned by the Energy Market Authority of Singapore. They wanted to bring together a group of experts to look ahead 30 years to 2050, because 2050 is the year in which scientists have concluded that the world needs to reach net zero carbon emissions in order to avoid a catastrophic climate change. So given the dire situation for the world as a whole, EMA wanted the committee to realistically assess what Singapore can do in the electric power sector to try and reach net zero emissions. So to do this study, we had to look at a wide range of trends and factors. Therefore, we were looking for a committee with a range of expertise, but also able to work together. And three types of experts we were looking for: technology experts, because the technology determines how much we can do to reduce carbon emissions. We also needed business experts, people who were in the energy business, so that you can assess the business trends going forward. And we also needed some public policy experts, people who can see what the governments can do around the world in order to bring about this transition. And this committee, which worked together for about 1.5 years, we came to three conclusions. Firstly, that it is technically viable and also realistic for the power sector in Singapore to achieve net zero by 2050. Secondly, this transition will not be easy, as it will need very major transformational changes across the entire energy and power value chain in Singapore. Further complexities arise because of the great uncertainties that still exist in the technological and geopolitical trends. So that's the second conclusion. The third one is this, that there are many business opportunities for Singapore to tap into in making this transition, because the solutions we develop for ourselves will also be deployable to other cities. So what we do for ourselves can also be transferred and in that sense sold as services and models to other countries, other cities especially.
Thank you for sharing that, especially our last point, right? Good to Singapore to pave the way. I want to focus on this second part. When we talk about this transformational shift, sounds very big. What do you think are some critical shifts for businesses in the energy sector? What do leaders need to be aware of?
Okay, so for those who are in the energy or power-related business today, I think it is best that they start positioning for the future now. Many businesses, I think very naturally, prefer concentrating on their existing lines of business without investing too much in risky future trends. However, this would be a recipe for them to be disrupted by other companies focusing on these new technologies. So they need to have a mindset, not of resisting change, but to anticipate it and to prepare to exploit it. Because this transition is coming about as a result of this very strong imperative, which is to avert climate change. Therefore, the changes will have to be done. It will be compelled by the very fact that the world as a whole will face an existential threat if we do not deal with it. So the power industry, the energy industry, is a very conservative industry. It's very slow moving in the past, but that is really going to change drastically in the next 30 years because of the changes forced upon it by climate change. So for those in the power industry, there will be big opportunities in new carbon-free sources, such as solar power, solar generation using photovoltaic cells. There's also new opportunities in hydrogen, as well as some other new technologies, such as geothermal, even nuclear technologies, and carbon capture. So some of these last three, the geothermal, the nuclear may come a little bit later, carbon capture perhaps later still. There will also be, on the services side, many new needs, many new offerings that have to be found in energy efficiency, managing of what we call distributed energy resources, and also in district level energy optimization. In that sense, kind of within sub parts of the grid today, where energy should be optimized or can be optimized further than what it is done today.
Wow, sounds like a lot of development and innovation going to happen in this space, at least in the coming up. That's what I'm hearing. Lots of different things. How might, other than this energy sector you talk about, if I will ask you, how might this transformational shift affect the wider economy? Any inputs from you?
So I think at the economy level, because in a sense we have to think of energy as the lifeblood of the whole economy. Right? So whatever the economy does, it needs energy to drive it. So at the economy level, there will be a much greater consciousness of carbon conservation and of energy efficiency. So land transport, for example, will be moving towards full electrification, or it will have to move to other carbon-free fuels. And then on the industrial side, on the industrial part of the economy, today's industries that use fossil fuels in their industrial processes will also need to redesign their processes using different technologies. They cannot stay still and continue to use fossil fuel in the future. For sectors that do not use fossil fuels directly, they also have to become much more efficient in their use of technology by using better equipment, by harnessing the opportunities to produce their own energy, and also by collaborating, as I said earlier, sort of within a sort of district level in order to achieve mutually beneficial outcomes. And this is something that will, I think, pervade throughout the whole economy here in Singapore, but actually also in any city. So workers in the energy industry also have to be more adaptable. They have to learn new technical skills as the sector goes through its radical transformation in order to reach net zero. While the current energy sector, as I said, happens to be one that is very, very conservative and very risk averse, the future will not be so benign. I expect it to be very fast moving, very disruptive, and it will necessitate workers to move rapidly from the disrupted segments of the industry to their disruptors. And if it is the same company that is sort of able to transit from disrupted to disruptor, then all the better it will be for workers. But if not, the workers need to move also, because the old industry will dry up. The new companies will be in a sunrise sector.
Wow, as I hear you, it feels like there's a certain old image of a more conservative, more risk-averse, and it's going to be something very new. The way we look at this sector, very futuristic, very fast, and in a sense, if we use the word lots of disruptions going to happen in this space. Very interesting. I'm wondering about also we talk about the workers, in this sector because of this shift, right? What skill sets do you think they need to be intentional, right, in learning to, because it feels like a very big shift. So what skill set do you think people who are currently in the sector, right, or people aspiring to join this sector, what do you feel like they should be intentional to pick up?
Well, I think they have to be conscious, as I said, and which you have also echoed, the many changes that are going to happen in the sector, and it is happening fast. It is also going to happen in such a way that today, sitting here in 2022, we don't know exactly what these changes are going to be. For example, we don't know which new technologies will succeed and how long it will take. So many of the technologies that will be needed for a net zero world in 2050, today they are still not mature, but some of them will definitely come through. The problem is knowing which ones, right? So there are risks that have to be taken by companies, by leaders in companies, and they are the ones who will have to pioneer, sort of blaze the trail into this new technologies. At the worker level, I think they have to be very ready to learn new things. I think the way the world is changing now, it's no longer going to be like what we have seen in the past, where you can learn one discipline and your work will just sort of be from that discipline. So, for example, it will not be just purely from engineering. It will not just purely be from economics. In many ways, in the future, there would have to be a lot of interdisciplinary kind of work, a lot of interdisciplinary skills, because this fast-moving world does require people to understand a more diverse set of forces at work in their industry. So therefore, I think that for workers, average people would have to be much more adaptable, would also have to be much more able to think across different disciplines. Okay.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm reminded of really this idea of transdisciplinary thinking skills, as you share about that, and of course being able to be nimble and adjust, right, for this sector. And as you share this sector moving into a very new image, I can really imagine this sector will be something that the young generation, the new generation will be looking forward to, because it's so dynamic. And this will be something that when we look at the new workforce, there could be many aspiring young entrepreneurs in this space. At least that's how I imagine it to be when we talk about how this sector is going to develop. Right? Thank you so much for sharing these insights. Very short, but I think it's so important when we understand this report. Right? This is how this sector is going to move very fast. So viewers, this is a very short, important update about the energy sector, and we have Mr. Larry Choi just sharing the key thrust of this 2050 report. And we're coming to the end of today's live chat. We hope that you stay tuned for future updates. Thank you.